Hey everybody, welcome to In the Red Zone. Michael Johnston here with you, and today the newest AP Top 25 poll has been released. A little bit of a shake-up there. The top, pretty much the way we expected it. The biggest move, of course, with Georgia beating Florida. The Bulldogs jump up there and now are back in the mix for a playoff spot. Appalachian State lost. They fall out of the top 25. Some other moves there. Texas has fallen out of the top 25. So let's just go ahead and take a look at what we have right now with the AP Top 25 being released today. And this is where they sit. Now, the playoff rankings come out on Tuesday. That is when the playoff committee, 9 o'clock Eastern time, I believe, is when the top six will be revealed. You have to think that they somewhat are going to look at the AP poll, even if that's not a factor in this, just to kind of look at where, preliminarily where teams are ranked. So I don't think it'll skew a whole lot from the AP poll. You might have a team, mixed, change positions here and there, but I think probably the top six are probably going to be the same. So here we are. Let's take a look at the newest AP poll released today. Of course, no change at the top. LSU, Alabama, Ohio State. There's your top three. All three teams on a bye this past week. They didn't play. No reason for them to change positions. So top three stay the same. Clemson gets a big win over Wofford. Take care of their business like they should against an FCS team. They stay in there at number 4. At number 5 is Penn State. Penn State has been pretty dominant this year. They've been impressive. They've moved up. They're right where I think they should be. Really, to be honest with you, Clemson is probably at number 4 just because they're defending national champions and they haven't lost a game yet. I really believe you put these two teams head-to-head next week, Penn State and Clemson. I think Penn State gets that win. But Clemson has been taking care of business. They've been looking better. They've started off the season kind of rough, not looking as sharp. They're starting to look sharper and sharper every week. So they sit there at number 4, Penn State at number 5. Georgia moves up to number 6. They got the big win over Florida this past week at the largest outdoor cocktail party there in Jacksonville. Big rivalry game. Get the 24-17 win. Florida tried to come back late in the game. Just couldn't get it done. Hats off to Georgia. Jake Fromm had a great game. Defense played phenomenal for Georgia. So Georgia moves up to number 6. They're back in the mix. Georgia has to take care of business. They went out in the East, and if they can win that SEC championship game, they're in. I mean, they're in. But one more loss and they're out. So they have to win out. I mean, they can't afford another loss. They cannot get in with another loss. So they sit there at 6. Oregon, with their impressive win over USC, jumps up to number 7. The Ducks look pretty good in that win. Their defense looked pretty spectacular. Next week, they do have 2 guys who are going to be out because they got one defensive tackle got 2 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties on the same play. Was kicked out of the game. Had another guy, a defensive back, kicked out for targeting. They're going to miss those guys next week, at least for one half. But so don't know how that'll impact them. But again, the Ducks move up to number 7. Utah jumps to number 8. They took care of business basically against Washington, got their win. So Utah moves up to number 8. I think those 8 teams are in the hunt for the playoffs. The teams coming up next, I just don't see a path. I really don't. I mean, I cannot see how, unless something just absolutely bizarre happens and everybody just starts losing the teams they shouldn't. I just can't see a path for these next teams coming up. At number 9 is Oklahoma. It would take a lot for them to get in. I mean, for a one-loss Oklahoma to get in over a one-loss LSU or Alabama or a Georgia or even Oregon, I don't see a path for them. They would have to have a lot of things happen. They would need Ohio State to lose to Penn State and lose to another just odd team like a Maryland or something. I mean, it's just not going to happen. Or to Michigan, and then Penn State, who would beat Ohio State, would have to lose again. Clemson would need to lose. A whole lot of things would have to happen. You would have to have Alabama and LSU. If Alabama beats LSU, then they have to lose to Auburn, and then they still get the tiebreaker if they beat LSU, and then they would have to beat Georgia, and just a whole lot of different things would have to happen. I really think the chances are less than 6% that OU can make it in, but they are sitting there at number 9. Number 10 is Florida. They're out of the mix at this point, just looking to stay stay in the top 10 basically, build for next year. You have Baylor sitting there at 11. They are undefeated, but there's not really a path for them. They could make if they could beat Oklahoma, that'd be a good win for them. But then that means 2 losses for OU. Texas dropping out of the top 25 hurts OU as well. So, I don't see a path for Baylor. They haven't played a very tough schedule this year, so don't think they can jump up there. Auburn is at 12. You have Minnesota at 13, still undefeated, but they have a very, very tough schedule coming up. These last 4 games, very tough. Very likely that they could lose 3 of their last 4. So don't see a path for Minnesota. I guess if they went out and went to the Big Ten championship game and won, they're undefeated Big Ten champions. But even then, I mean, that's a big jump. I guess with the wins they could probably do that, but they have a tough road to go. We'll see. You have Michigan in there at 14, Notre Dame at 15, coming off their 1-point win against Virginia Tech, a game where they were favored by, I believe, 18 points. So Notre Dame is struggling. They're really lucky they came out with that win. So they're down there at 15. Wisconsin comes in at 16. Cincinnati at 17. Cincinnati had to come back to beat East Carolina. They were down the whole game. East Carolina looked like the better team. Cincinnati did not come to play at all. They struggled most of that game, but they did fight back, and they got out with the win. So they still only have 1 loss, and that was to Ohio State. And the more they win, the better it helps Ohio State. So the Bearcats are at 17. Iowa comes in at 18. I believe they are playing Wisconsin this week, and I think that's going to be the winner of that's probably going to decide the West, I think, because I don't know. Minnesota's still in there in the mix, but from the beginning, I always thought it was going to be Iowa win the West. So they're sitting there at 18. 19 is Memphis. Memphis off that big win against SMU. It was just an absolutely entertaining game on ABC. SMU was really down. They fought back to try to get in it. Had a chance, but I mean, hats off to what Memphis pulled out. I mean, that was just, you could tell the atmosphere there at the Liberty Bowl was just electric. It was a great time. It was great for both these teams to be able to play in prime time on ABC because they deserve it. They're 2 very, very good football teams. I think Memphis, SMU, and Cincinnati are 3 schools that could easily make the jump to a Power 5 conference, and I think at some point it's going to happen because I think those are very strong programs that could do that. So Kansas State comes in at number 20 after their win against Kansas, and then you have Boise State at 21. Struggled with San Jose State most of the night, ended up getting a 10-point win. They were 17-point favorites. So they're in there at 21. 22 is Wake Forest. Their only loss so far is that shootout with Louisville. I think they lost 62-59. Wake Forest has Clemson coming up soon. That's going to be a big game for the ACC. Probably the only game where you could probably see Clemson lose. Otherwise, Clemson's going to run the table pretty much. So that's the one game Clemson has left that's going to be tough for them. SMU stays in the top 25 at number 23. I think that's deserving considering how close that game was and how it ended up. San Diego State bumps up a notch from 25 to 24, and then Navy jumps in there. They're at 7-1, and they come in the top 25. So some points just outside the top 25. You have UCF, you have Texas, some other schools in there. So Indiana is making a run. They're just outside the top 25. So, they had a pretty impressive win as well over Northwestern. So you might see the Hoosiers in the top 25 soon. We'll have to wait and see. So that's your AP top 25 for November 3rd, 2019. And again, Tuesday the 5th is when the playoff rankings come out for the very first time. Everybody's going to be glued to that. I'll have a video that night afterwards revealing it, giving you my thoughts on what I think about the playoff rankings. And, it's not over yet. A lot of football left to play. We got a whole month of November left, and a lot of different things can happen in November. So got some rivalry games coming up at the end of the month. So a lot of things can happen. And some of these teams, LSU and Alabama play next week. Penn State and Ohio State's going to play. Georgia is going to end up playing the winner of LSU Alabama more than likely, barring some kind of miracle. A lot of football left to play. So we'll just have to see how things shake out. But thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Like this video. turn on that bell, the notifications, if you want to have more alerts for our videos when they come out. And also don't forget to follow us on Twitter, and you can also go find us on Google Play and iTunes. We do have a podcast. Most of these videos are also available as a podcast that you can download and listen to. We will have our picks go up. I'm going to aim for having them up on Monday. They may go up on Tuesday this week. We may even push it out to Wednesday. So turn on that bell for the notification if you want to have our picks. Normally we have those up on Monday. We may push it off just because we want to have the playoff rankings. We may do that for the rest of the year. I don't know yet. I have to talk with Shaun about that. But again, stay tuned, and thank you for watching, and have a great day.